Good morning, students. So we're gonna start to preface this video is gonna be if this will move. It will not. It will not. This slide. It's gonna be video on this slide and then it's gonna be through slides 14 through 23. I'll try to make it really quick, short and sweet. So beforehand, you were on the slides above looking through about like what important information is and identifying that in the text. So now we're going to be working on what is like background information, which I feel like those two, important and background, go hand in hand in how to just really read and comprehend text, as you probably know. So first, I made this little triangle pyramid thingy to kind of help like understanding the different parts of things that you should be looking for in the text. So basically, background information, information that the reader knows before they're reading. Sorry. Or that they can figure out like after they're done reading a text. And we'll get into that a little bit in a couple slides. So first, the era. Literally just means like when it's happening. So this could literally be you're reading an article, it was posted 5 days ago, or it could be reading an article that was literally posted in 1900s. Who knows? But when it's posted is like really crucial on like background information because like if it was posted 5 days ago, that means that like what was happening is like really important like right now. First, like it was probably an issue back in the 1900s, but not anymore. But it still might help with something that you're writing for. All depends. Next is the conflict and the theme. So like, what is the major like tension or problem like within that era or within that like conflict? Top, very top one, the pivot. So like, how does our specific topic fit into our problem? So like, what are we really honing in on? So it kind of just gets more honed in as you go on, obviously. Now, I made an example to slightly understand this a little bit more. So, sorry, the era. So, right here in this example, it's about we're in France and it's in like the 1600s. So, like a hot minute ago. Um, in this specific thing, people, just like the public, people in society, are questioning if the monarchy, which is king and queen, um, if it should be like a thing in France. And so people want more individual rights and they believe that like tradition is more with monarchy. So they kind of want to move past that. Now, going based off of that kind of like question, we're moving into the conflict. So France's French society splits into three groups: the church, the nobles that pay no taxes, and then the estate. So everyone pays for things, but they have no say in the law. Now, based on those two things, you go into the pivot. So King Louis does something, which is it's relevant, but it's irrelevant. He calls for meeting to raise taxes. So in the state, everyone who like pays but doesn't understand the law, they realize they're gonna be like outvoted. So they declare themselves National Assembly and they won't leave until France has a constitution. So by literally just looking at these brief things, some of the things that I don't know that I might want to look into more and find out more background information is what are these societies like the church, the nobles, and the state? Like, I know a brief thing about those, but like, I really don't know how it can help me. Like, if all these things are mentioned in an article, I'm gonna need to know and go find out some more background information because this just isn't enough. And also, like, National Assembly, I don't know what that means. So, like, I'm also gonna need to look up like what that is in general and then maybe what that was during that time because maybe those are two different things that is it about. So, brief overview about that. Next, we're going to go into like why is it important to gather background information. So as we kind of said in the example beforehand, background information just helps you like understand the text in general, but then it can also help with like understanding like the author and like their point of view, which kind of goes into this next arrow bullet point thing. So like we need to understand like where the author is coming from. So like maybe they're like writing it's a short story or a story, a poem, whatever piece of text and they were like really highlighting like a certain like social point of view. So like maybe it's like a social economic status. So maybe it's like a really low one or really high, middle, whatever. Maybe they're talking about a certain culture. So like if you were like one culture and they're writing about another, you might not know a lot about that because it's not your own, which is okay. That's just like common for most people. And then another one could be geographic location. So like we live in the United States, this could be taking place in, I don't know, like France, let's just say. And we don't really understand like their norms and we don't understand like just yeah, their norms, anything about over in that area. It's in a whole different country and a continent. So like understanding and like gathering like background information is important. So then you can understand like these couple of things and also many more just about the author and like where they're coming from. Another thing is it helps relate information. So like from the text and then like what you're gathering. So like let's say you're in a history class and you ended up literally learning about um like France and during that time in the 1600s. And then you go to your class and you're like, oh my gosh, we're reading a text about King Louis, the whatever, and in the 1600s, and it's talking about monarchy stuff and people, the society issues. Now you can relate those two and put them together. So, like, that information that you learn in history class, that's like your background information for an English class. So, it's these things like maybe you have conversations with your parents or your friends, or you're just talking about it. Like, anything that you can gather is going to be helpful and background information to aid you in your reading. Final one is it can help create a stronger argument with your background text and your textual evidence that we like talked about in those prior slides. Um, so like background information, it's going to be helpful. Textual evidence, it's going to be like quoting or paraphrasing directly from the text. All of that, like let's say you make an argument in the paper or you're literally just having a conversation with someone. If you can pull things and you have background knowledge, it just you just sound like you just know what you're talking about a lot more. It'll just be a more supportive, stronger argument. So after that whole hot mess of everything, we're gonna look at an example. So this example, I'm gonna read it out loud. It's the same paragraph that we're gonna go to. So exploring high altitude mountain terrain is an exhilarating challenge, but it requires a deep respect for the unpredictable power of nature. When hiking in rugged ranges, the environment can shift in an instant. A clear morning can quickly transform into a life-threatening storm or a complete whiteout. Success depends on more than just physical strength. You need to be prepared for the type 2 fun that comes with a steep accents and heavy packs. It's crucial to watch out for false summits that can crush your morale and to always follow leave no trace principles to protect the trail. By prioritizing safety and recognizing limits, you can experience the awe-inspiring beauty of the peaks while avoiding the dangers of the wilderness. So, in this, we are going to look for information that we already know, common information everyday people know, and then background information that you wouldn't know that you probably need to go research. And we're going to highlight and those specific things. So as you're just looking through and probably need to reread again, I found this is the information that for me personally, I already knew. Now, you maybe know literally everything about hiking because maybe you go on a hiking trip like every single year, but the person next to me might not. And so they might be highlighting more in yellow than me, or vice versa. Or they wouldn't be. Sorry, I said that wrong. Anyway, so for me, exploring high altitude mountain terrain is an exhilarating challenge. Like, I've never gone, but I'm assuming because literally it's a high altitude and it's probably like really exciting for people that actually like hiking. That's probably just like the higher you go, the cooler it's gonna be. More than physical strength, I can assume. Like, I don't like to hike, and that's because it takes too much out of me, and I just am too lazy for that. But anyway, I assume that. Um, leave no trace principles. That's I know what that is. That's literally just like when you're walking and so you're eating granola bar on your hike, don't throw the wrapper on the ground because that wasn't there beforehand. And so like again, there's a couple other things in there that are like obvious, but like these are just the important things that I just thought to note about. So now I'm looking at background information. So things that like I would want to research more because I can't like visualize it or I don't understand what they mean because it's kind of like hiking lingo. So like when hiking in rugged ranges, the environment can shift in an instant. A clear morning can quickly transform into a life-threatening storm or complete whiteout. I don't know what that would look like, and I don't really know what a whiteout is. I'm assuming it's like maybe a lot of snow, like covering that just comes down. But again, I don't really know. And also that's like skiing. I don't know. Anyway, I was confused. And then type 2 type of fun that comes with steep X and something X. I don't know what type 2 fun means, and I also don't know what false summits are. So like I can like maybe like interpret or like think about things, which is also things that you should be doing when you're reading, obviously. But I would rather know if I'm maybe like writing about this or talking about it with somebody instead of like guessing and making inferences that are 100% correct. Like you can obviously make them, but like you want to do your background research to know you're like on the up and up and about everything. So that's what it looks like. It can be more than that, it can be less than that. Doesn't really matter. It's whatever works for you. It's like your personal thing when you're doing it because again, everyone's different. So now, after learning about background information, learning about important information in text, and all those fun things, we are going to go back to the poem that was introduced earlier. So, because we read the poem and we can kind of notice some things, interpret some things, whatever, we still needed to do some background information. And like one of the things we said earlier, background information on the author might really help because like a lot of the things in the poem were very like common sense and understood, like word wise. But then now looking into the author, maybe it can reveal some things. So did some quick research on like two different websites. It was really quick and easy. Um, Nikki Giovanni, she brought a lot of awareness to social, racial, and gender issues. So she's like an activist in that sense. She was an author and educator, specifically at Virginia Tech, and mainly she did a lot of poems. She worked to highlight the work of Black women and just kind of like raising like awareness to like everything with that and showing that that is important. And then she also had this quote that I think explains to a lot of her writings and her teachings that she was doing. So I'll read to you. We can never let the words be taken away from us. We can never let people, because they don't know what we're saying, shut us up. Words are the most important things that human beings have, and no matter what the situation, we must always remember to use them. So that's a little background with her. You can obviously do more than that pertaining to like what you're specifically doing, but I think this is a good chunk for the poem that we were reading. Now, this is the end of this video, and you're gonna have to click on the next slide, which will have the next video to further explain me putting all that together and like going over the poem with everything that we have learned now. So please go watch the next video.